that, sorry. All right. Okay, everyone online's looking at, oh boy. Okay, I wanted to talk about integrity. Last time speaking, but integrity is immensely important. And it's amazing the power that integrity has in all your relationships. Because when you stand for something, right? Oh, there was this quote that was like, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It was really cool. But when you stand for something and you hold on to it, and people look at the trials and the testings that you go through, and you stand through it, something changes. They recognize something different because the world around is constantly just moving with the flow, doing what they want, and it's like, meh, whatever. But when you stand in integrity, people recognize something different. And when you do that, it speaks because they have no choice but to reflect upon their own lives and been like, oh, they've never broken a promise. Man, I've broken a lot of promises. I never even really cared. But look at how they live life. And it's so different than my own. And so maybe I'd like to be a person who keeps their promises, right? And they reflect. Like, anytime you have any interaction with someone, everything that you do, right? Like when truth is presented to you, you take that truth and you weigh it upon what you already know, and then you decide whether this is good or, I don't like this. It's the same with every relationship that you have. When people speak and they give you their perspective, you put it into your heart if they're trustworthy people, right? And you weigh it and you say, this is good, or I don't like this so much. And when you find people of integrity, it gives a lot more value to when they give you perspective. Because then all of a sudden it's like, I kind of like that too. And so a ways back, I remember my kids were kind of doing a thing, and it was like, tomorrow I'd like to play this game, right? But would you come and play with me? And the response was like, yeah, sure. And then the next day came, and it was like, hey, are we going to play? And the kid came running to me and was like, listen, I know I said I would play, but I didn't say I promise I'll play. So I don't feel like playing. Right? And of course, that's a learning opportunity. And it's like, no, that's not the way it works. Would you like to be known as a person who says things but never follows through? Just because you didn't say the word, I promise? Are you one of the people who go, I promise? Cross my fingers, it doesn't count. No. You want to be known as a person who's always honest and truthful. And if you say you're going to do something, especially when you don't want to, but you do it anyways, people recognize that in you. It's an honorable trait. Otherwise, you've lost trust. Do you really want to lose trust with your brother? You want to make it so that, he's got to wait for certain conditions to be met, but then he doesn't fully trust you? Because what's going to happen when trust is broken is he's not going to ask you to play with him anymore. Is that what you want? So, like I said, teaching opportunity. He was like, oh, I don't really want to play, but yeah, Dad, I guess you're right, And he went to go play. So it was good. But teaching them that you don't need to say the words, I promise, that when you say something, you follow through. And it's incredibly important to do so. So Matthew chapter 5, verse 33, it teaches about vows. You've also heard that our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows that you make to the Lord. But I say, don't make any vows. Don't say, by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. Don't say, by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. Don't say, well, by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. So he's taking things that are like very important to people back then, that they would be like, I swear by the heavens. Do you ever hear like the term, I swear on my mom's grave, or I swear on my soul, or, trying to swear by something, some kind of important. Well, for them, these were the important things, right? And so people were making vows according to things that were very important to them. And he's like, So do not ever say, by my head. You can't turn one hair white or black. Just say a simple, yes, I will. Or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. I wondered about that one. It's kind of like, okay, so if I swear or make a promise anything more than yes, it's from the evil one. Why? And so then James 5:12. But above all, my brothers, do not swear, either by heaven or by earth or by any other oath. But let your yes be yes, your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. And to me, that one explained it, right? Because if you say, I promise this and 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 this, and you don't come through, all of a sudden, there's a massive opportunity for heartbreak, for letdown, but you said you would, and you didn't. Because then what happens in their heart in that moment, right? Trust is broken, not just in your promise, but promises in general. And so Satan pounces on that and is like, you've been offended. Someone let you down. Now hold on to that anger, hold on to that. That's why it says anything more than that's from an evil one. It's a trap waiting to happen, waiting for something to unfold, waiting for, right? And it's like, don't do that. You don't need to do that. To be a person of integrity, let your yes be yes, and let your no be no. You should always be doing that. You should always be like, what you say is what you mean. Oh boy, I made things really tiny. I was looking at the definition of integrity. I'm going to go stand over here. I underlined some of the words there. Perfect. Whew, that's hard. Integrity means to be perfect, uprightly, blameless life, clear conscience, purity. The basic meaning of integrity in the Old Testament is a soundness of character and adherence to moral principle. Sound character. There's a lot of character traits, right? Like loyalty and it's like being strong in all of those and what they mean. And a common expression is to walk with integrity, walk in integrity. And it indicates a habitual manner of life. So a steadfastness, right? That your integrity isn't wee. It is strong, always the same. It is dependable. People can trust you. That what you say is what you mean. That's what you're going to get. So you're holding on to that. In Proverbs, integrity is seen as an essential character of the upright life. Yahweh will protect those who walk in. Their security is assured. It is a trustworthy guide for living and better than wealth. Titus 2:7 says this. It specifies that integrity is an indispensable ingredient in Christian teaching. Indispensable. That what you do, the way you act, the choices you make, everything reflects. And so you need to make sure your every decision matters. Your every decision is according to moral excellence. All right, let's read the Titus 2:6 there instead of just referring to it. In the same way, encourage the young men to live wisely. It's interesting, right? When young men, right? You get to like Micah's age, all of a sudden parents don't matter so much anymore, He's growing into a young man who wants to make his own decisions. And so there's a struggle that's going to take place over the next 5 years where he's trying to be independent and do his own things. And during that, he's going to weigh a lot of everything that he hears around him. So other kids, and their perspectives. Because he's now no longer fully trusting his parents to know everything. He realizes we don't know everything. I mean, he does. Trust him. But, right, and in that struggle of not knowing everything, it means that everything's in doubt. So you're going to have to weigh in your heart now. And you have to learn to do that on a regular basis. So everything he hears from everything around him, he's going to weigh in his heart. And so it's telling you, encourage the young men to live wisely. You be the peer pressure. Don't let the peer pressure be the peer pressure. Let all of you be the pressure, right? Be there and teach wisdom. Be there and encourage and be like, what choices are you making? Is that good for you or is that bad for you? Sure, you can figure it out on your own, but ask the questions. A lot of people don't ask questions. They don't create boundaries. They don't sit and say, I'd like to go to this party that my friend is throwing. The parents are away. Woo, it's going to be fun. But when I'm at this party, I'm going to choose not to drink. I think that's a good boundary to have. I'm going to choose not to hang out with the people, smoking pot, or, that they're creating boundaries. Then they walk into it and it's like, no, I've already decided. Because if you don't take the time to decide beforehand the boundaries that you're going to have, then you're there and it's like, well, everyone's just doing it. You don't think that. It just kind of is like normal. It becomes normalized. You become desensitized. It's like, I got so used to secondhand smoke, it kind of smells good now. And so it says to encourage young men to live wisely. Teach them. Show them. Show them by integrity what it means. And you yourself must be an example to them. So it's not just saying, it's about doing. And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. That means you're active into showing what integrity is. You're making decisions. You're creating boundaries. And when they recognize that you're doing that, they're like, oh, I should probably do the same. And it doesn't matter so much about you talking all the time because they're watching how you live. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. There you go. So I think of I was much younger and there was this lady named Barbara Coloroso. She had these tapes and my mom would listen to them about parenting. And one of the highlights was say what you mean and mean what you say, right? I'm going to go further in my sermon, then I'll wait till I get there. Anyway, so let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Everything that you do. When you've created boundaries, when you've created a rule set for your life, as you live by them, it reinforces everything you've ever said. And then they recognize the fruit that it produces. Because believe me, when they finally decide on their own, I'm not going to listen to my parents. I'm going to go do what I want to do. And the fruit that's born from that is icky and rotten as fruit flies. And it's a metaphor. When the choices that they make end up hurting them and hurting those around them, then they'll realize and been like, whoa, my parents walked with integrity. I chose not to. And this is the fruit that was born. And I recognize the fruit that was born in my parents. Maybe I should do things a little bit more wisely. Right? And it's important that we do that so that your teaching can't be criticized. Then those who oppose us will be ashamed and have nothing to say about us. When you are living in integrity, right? People who like to gossip, they're going to gossip about everything that they see possibly wrong with someone else. Did you hear what this person said? Did you hear what this person did? Did you hear this decision that they made? Did you, right? They're looking to tear someone apart. My goodness, the tongue is a powerful thing. Don't listen to that whole sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words will kill you. And so you need to pay attention what words are used around you and what you allow into your life. That's a whole other sermon, but you can't when you see something, you can't unsee it. When you hear something, you can't unhear it. It's not like you can just turn off your ears, but oh, that's it. Even like earplugs don't work all that well. You're still and once you've heard, that's it. It's a part of you. Would you want to be around people that are going to speak poorly all the time? How does that affect your soul, your heart, right? But when you stand in integrity, other people, they can't criticize you, can they? They're like, every decision this person makes is good. It is healthy. It stands above. They're constantly trying to do the best. Doesn't mean they're not going to fail. But even when something fails or something goes wrong, they're like, no, their heart is good. They stand for integrity. Then, if someone came to gossip about it, you'd kind of look at them like, do you actually really know that person? Because that person is good, and everything they've ever done has been to encourage people around them, to protect their children, to do the best they can. They live righteously. Why would you speak poorly about them? Become ashamed. Right? It's like, oh, yeah, you're kind of right. The friends I have, I want to be living in integrity. Right? So if anyone comes to me like, are you talking about them? No, they live in integrity. How dare you? And that stops gossip real fast. Who's the person who's got the greatest integrity? It's God. The Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, who was and is and will be, is always the same. He does not change. When he says, that's the way it is. And therefore, we can always depend on him, can't we? This is why we pray to him. He never lets go. Oh no, you never let go through the fire. He stands strong. He is a pillar. He is God. But he is full of integrity. And that's why he asks us to do the same thing, right? I think of different ways of integrity. So I talked about the parenting, the Barbara Coloroso, say what you mean what you say. And the idea is, if you do not take the garbage out by 10 o'clock, tomorrow you will go to bed 1 hour early. Is this acceptable? Yeah, all right. See, now I don't have to nag you about taking out the garbage now. You can do it later. But if you do it past 10 p.m., we've both agreed what would happen. That's me saying what I mean, right? And then at 10:30, or my kids go to bed, and you go to the garbage, like, do. Hey, so-and-so. Yeah, I just went to go check the garbage. It's really full. I guess you're going to bed 1 hour early tomorrow, eh? Oh, but I have this and I have that. But no, we already agreed upon this. I said what I meant, and now anyway, you get it. You follow through. You must follow through. You ever have parents who give you the empty threats? If you do that, I swear I'm going to do this. And they're like, yeah, right. That's the most ridiculous threat ever. You're going to keep me grounded all summer. You're not going to let me go to, you say something ridiculous. Well, you know what you're teaching them? It's like, well, there's no way they can follow through on that. It's almost an invitation to, well, they can't. So I'm going to do whatever I want. You're teaching them that. You're giving them permission. You have to be realistic. You have to, because they're going to push back. And they're going to be like, oh, if I challenge this one, there's no way they're going to follow through on that. It's those empty threats. But you're actually teaching them that they can push back. You got to mean what you say and say what you mean. Integrity in family dynamics is immensely important. When you stay steadfast in the rules that you set and in the consequence that you set, you start to look a little bit more like God, don't you? You become dependable. You become completely dependable. Because a parent who never follows through on their promises or has all those empty threats, when things are rocky in their life, they're going to be like, I can't trust them. They weren't dependable. They promised me, but then they never went through on those promises. And kids recognize that innately. Right? I've seen it happen in family dynamics where even between two different parents. And when they want something, see who they go to. And then when they're struggling with something and really, really need help with something, to see who they go to. Because one speaks to dependence and one speaks to, I get what I want. Right? And you can be in there, you guys have trained that in your kids. You recognize, right? So integrity in the way you raise your family is immensely important. And then, of course, there's integrity in marriage as well. In promises you've made, or the definition of marriage and what that looks like. And so I was doing the Instagram thingy or whatever. I like looking at a whole bunch of woodworking and epoxy stuff. I'm kind of like, whoa, it inspires me. And then cooking. There's a lot of cooking stuff because people make some really good stuff and I get inspired. But also I look at like different marriage things or different inspirational things or encouragement things. And so this one came on and some lady was like, have you ever seen a relationship that started with all this love, this immense care and everything? It's like this full-blown water faucet. And then after 4 or 5 months, it starts to trickle. And it disappears, and it lowers, and they said it had a terminology. I don't know how accurate that is. And they said it's love bombing. They give you an immense amount of love, and then when you're hooked up with them and stuck with them, then they put it down to a trickle, and then they mistreat you. So I was thinking of, along with that, I was thinking of the first vow that you give in marriage, where it says, to cherish and to hold, or to have and to hold. I like the word cherish because it means a protecting of and holding of, and then when it says to hold, an intimacy. And so often I see people go through all kinds of dating, get married, and then never date again. I'm like, no. Your very first promise was to cherish, to cherish the bond, the affections that you share. And you should be continuing dating and grow in that. And to hold on speaks to the physical intimacy, that it's a beautiful and important thing. So even this morning while I was worshiping, I was going to, this is what I was playing in my head. Don't hold me to it. And don't answer me, please. When was the last time you went out on a date? Oh, you don't have to answer. When was the last time you went on a date? It doesn't matter how old you are. When was the last time you went out on a date? Oh, I'm doing it, eh? Are you feeling judged here? There's no judgment. You haven't answered me. I have no sweet clue. It could have been last night. Okay? You need to have integrity in marriage. You need to hold on to that. It's important to do so. Integrity spills out into all areas of your life, into every single relationship that you have. And it's important that you walk in integrity in all of it. Yeah, I'll get to it. Oh, okay. What else did I put? I think I said friends can't speak poorly about it. Ooh, Megan taught me this one. You teach people how to treat you. That speaks to integrity too. If you allow people to mistreat you, they think it's okay, it's normal, and you allow it, so you haven't set those boundaries, they're going to continue to do it, and then you constantly hurt. Because you haven't taught them, no, don't talk to me like that. What right do you have to talk to me like that? I may not be as good as you, but I still deserve respect as a human being. They won't talk to you like that anymore. You've set your boundary, right? It's important to do that. And you tell people how to treat you by the way you treat other people around you. Again, when I think of steadfastness and integrity, it means that you're the same always. So if you're going to gossip about other people, people are going to come to you and gossip about other people because you've taught them that that's okay, that that's what you like to do. If you treat others with respect and honor and you protect them, and the people that come to you will want to do the same. They look for cues on you, right? First time they meet you, they may not swear at all. And then you drop a couple bombs, and then they're just like, oh, I'm allowed. It's okay. They do it, so I can do it too. You set the tone. The way you treat others is the way they're going to treat you. Birds of a feather flock together. When you start standing for something, you start attracting people who see it the same way you do. Or something else amazing happens. When I was kicked out of home and went to go live by myself, feeling rejected by the world, I lived with someone who had a lot of friends, even though I didn't. Those friends, they drank and they smoked and they did drugs, and it wasn't what I did, but they'd be around all the time. And so I'd come hang out on the porch because I know they'd wanted to smoke and they weren't going to smoke inside, so I'd stay a little further. And, I'd try to hide it in my face. I said, oh, it smells so bad. But I never condemned them for it. I never said, oh, shame on you. I just existed. And as they grew in relationship with me, and there was no judgment there, okay? As they grew in relationship with me, then instead of changing their behavior, which is what most of us expect of other people, I don't like this, so stop doing it. There was actually a change of heart. So they came over and they would do the things that they did all the time, and I never swore, I never drank, I never smoked, and for some reason I disappeared every Sunday morning, And then they were like, F-bomb. Oh, I'm so sorry, Luigi. I'm like, what are you apologizing to me for? You've said it a million times before. Did I ever say anything that you did was wrong about it? Why are you saying sorry for? He goes, oh, I just know that you never have sworn before, and I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not judging you for it. But then this interesting thing happened. They're just like, I'd like to cut back. I'd like to maybe not do that so much. Oh, I know that the smoke bothers you, and you know what? I should slow down this smoking thing. It's not good for me. What a waste of money. Plus my health. And I like hanging around you. And you make me want to smoke less, and it's probably better. I never judged. And I didn't ask them for a change of action. But a change of heart began to take place. When you stand as a pillar with integrity, people look at your life, not necessarily what you say, but they look at your life, and it begins to reflect upon their life. What a testimony that is. Because when you live for God and you're living differently and they recognize it, but you're not sitting there in judgment, which is what they're used to from the church, right? That you're there out of love, just spending time with them. And everything changes inside of their hearts, which is what God was more about. Stop offering sacrifices. God doesn't want that. He wants your heart. True worship, right? Same thing. When you stand in integrity, people compare. They do the comparing, not you. It's great. And then they realize, that seems more beneficial than what I do. Maybe I'll stop. And it's amazing how people begin to do that out of relationship. And if you have a strong relationship with God, it kind of starts rubbing off. Because that's what makes you different. And they recognize it, whether they can verbalize it or not. And as they begin to change what's in their heart, it means that your chase for righteousness, your chase for righteousness, all of a sudden they're like, Luigi always hunts for what is good, what is right. He doesn't do what he feels. He consciously thinks about it. I want to do that too. I'd like to be a better person. And it's amazing how that unfolds. But again, the judgment thing is very important, because as Christians, we're known for our judgment. If you just sit there and point the finger, well, you do this, and you do this, and God hates that, and, you slept with this, or you smoked that, or you drank this, or you stole that, or that's all they know from you. That's not relationship. And they're just like, well, I like you, so I might change my behavior in front of you. There's no change of heart. Love people wherever they're at. God does the rest. When you shine as a light, it reflects upon their light. And they're like, well, it's not so bright. I want it to be brighter. The words it used for integrity is perfect. Whew. It's a tall order. How the heck do we ever pull off perfect? I can't pull off perfect. I got so many flaws. There's no way I can pull off perfect. But there's a big difference in your heart between admitting defeat, giving up, and not caring, and trying to be perfect. No, it's not attainable. We'll never make it. But when your heart says, but I want to try, but I'd like to be the best version of myself, but I'm going to put every effort I can to do what is right and what is good and what is holy and to be separate, and something changes in your heart. Don't discount desire. God desired, He spoke, it became real. Pay attention to your desire. Faith happens with desire. Faith happens with what goes on inside of your heart. Don't discount it. What goes on there is immensely important. And the trying changes everything. No, we'll never make it. We'll fail, we'll fall, we'll break, we'll make mistakes. There'll be consequences to those mistakes. But it's in the trying that begins to define who you are. When I meet people, I always tell them, listen, I don't care what you've done, because some people will sit and tell you their whole backstory, right? And I'm like, I don't care what you've done. And then they begin to tell you what they're currently doing. And I'm like, I don't care what you've done. I don't even care so much what you're currently doing. But who do you want to become? God knows I've made tons of mistakes in my past. God knows I'm nowhere near what I want to be right now. But what I want to be better defines me. Doesn't mean I'm going to attain it. But when people see, or if I'm going to judge in who you want to be, that means I'm beginning to encourage and build the foundation in you to achieve that. When in your heart you're like, I was addicted to drugs. I am currently going through this, and this. And they focus so much on that. Right? And you sit there and say, but who do you want to be? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this. I want to be this. There. Now breathe life into them. Encourage them. Build them up. Give them the equipment they need to achieve. And they will. And beautiful, beautiful things begin to happen in the people around you. Who you want to be. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to hear. That's what I hope people judge in me. Who I want to be. Again, perfectionists will never make it. But something changes in that hunt for. And teach people that. When you begin to encourage people's dreams and passions and loves and, make a to-do list, make a nice big list and been like, what do you want to do in life? So let's write it out. Let's make it real. Let's hunt for it. Let's make it happen. Then who they want to be begins to flourish. I don't know about you, but I've always wanted to be better than what I am now. Don't you want to be better than you are now? I'm pretty sure that applies to everyone. So when you encourage that, you're building up friends for life. When you help them succeed and achieve and grow, and then ask, okay, now what? They're constantly looking for that perfection, and you can help them to know God through that. Proverbs 2:7, he stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity. Wow, it's powerful. He stores up sound wisdom. When you live life according to a certain way, you learn into situations, you see into situations because you've taken the time to judge your decisions according to God. And so it's different. And then he becomes your shield. Again, no one can attack you because you're trying to be the best that you can be. You're struggling towards it. Deuteronomy 18:13, you must be blameless before the Lord your God. And they're like, well, I can't do that. Thank you, Jesus, for dying and paying for my sins. At least I can walk into your presence now. I'm only blameless because of Christ. I can only walk in that way because he washed away my sins. Just need to remember and appreciate that. We're going to do communion later, so just keep that in mind. I think of David's answer to his friend who's like, he's literally laying down to sleep. We walked into the enemy's camp, which can only be God, okay? Because we're literally standing here where everyone wants you dead. And he's there, the king who's hunted you, who has thrown spear after spear to try and kill you. And his spear's laying right there. Take it out of the ground and move a foot to the left and put it right through. And then you're the king. David's answer, can anyone lift a hand against the Lord's anointed and be blameless? God made this man king. Therefore, he has been anointed as king. Who am I to go against what God has anointed? What God has protected? David's like, it doesn't matter. He's not going to die by my hands. He's going to have to die by God's hands in God's time. And he believed in God. That made him a significantly better king than anyone else because of what was in his heart. Right? So again, it's a matter of heart, not anything more. All right, so like I said, how do you teach integrity? Well, you live in it. You make people compare. With every decision that you make people look at, compare, and say, I don't like this, I need to do that. When you say you're working with someone and you made a promise to someone else that you're going to do the job to the best of your ability and it may take a little bit longer and you're going to work hard and they're like, dude, it's 4 o'clock, can we just go home? We can do this tomorrow. I'm like, no, I said I would do this. You can go home if you'd like. But since I said I was going to do this, then if it takes me all night, I will stay here all night. And in that moment, the friend who wants to leave, I'm like, kind of right. If you said you're going to do something, it doesn't matter how you feel and you want that break, or you should follow through. You're now teaching in that moment. It's a teaching opportunity to that person where you're like, no, I said I'm going to do this and I'm going to follow through. Right? So when you stand for integrity in your promises and what you say you're going to do, it kind of makes you blameless. It's what God is asking you to do. It's the same word, just written differently. It speaks to a steadfastness, to a chasing after what is right. Right? And like I said, it's a heart shift. Everything inside your heart changes. Instead of being like, man, this happens, so I'll just do this, I don't care, to all of a sudden, no, I want to chase after what is righteous, what is good. I want to be a man of integrity. When you live that way, so when you're in a group of people and everyone's drinking, but you've made a vow not to drink, right? They're all watching you. When like-minded people gather together and you're amongst them, people who are not Christian will look at every decision that you make. And so when Satan attacks, he doesn't ask you to, I always go to the extremes when I give examples. He's not going to say, I need you to go kill this person, go kill them. Right? It doesn't go like that. It's like, this person bullied you. Doesn't it hurt? Wouldn't you like to make it right? Maybe they pulled your pants in front of everyone and embarrassed you. What could you do? He deserves repayment to know what that feels like. Right? And he builds up a hatred in you. He builds up I want justice. I want this made right according to my terms. And usually that's way worse than what's been done to you. You magnify everything you've chosen to do. And so what is black, what is white, slowly begins to shift to this muddly gray color. That's what Satan does, right? Build up this hatred. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you smashed his car, burnt down his house? And it escalates and escalates and escalates until finally, there's horrible things that happen in the world. He doesn't just come and tell you, go kill this person. You're like, okay. He builds up in you very, very slowly over a long period of time, wearing you down. When you're with a group of people and they're different than you and they make different decisions than you, they're all watching you. And if you go from your black and white and just been like, just go a little bit over, believe me, a little bit of your integrity has just decreased. They look at you differently. Oh, they had a small drink with us. Huh, interesting. They recognize it. They recognize that you gave in a little bit. And when you continue hanging around people like that, they'll try to push you a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And your integrity decreases with every decision you make. So when he talks about that blameless, he's talking to you about be firm against the fiery attacks of the devil. Stand firm in who you are, in your integrity. Do not let it waver. Create your boundaries and say, no, this is my boundary that I live by. I will not cross over for any circumstance. Sure, maybe the POC made me sign a piece of paper that says, I will not drink, but I never signed that paper. Every decision you make, people are watching you. Every little concession you make, they're watching you. And you're representing Christ in those moments. Don't let your integrity wear away. Philippians 2:12. Dear friends, you always followed my instructions when I was with you. And now that I'm away, it's even more important. Work hard to show the results of your salvation. Not casually. It's not just showing up to church on Sunday. Work hard. Put in effort to show the results, the change in your life, what's different inside of you. Work hard to show that. Obeying God with deep reverence. Fear means being in awe of who God is and being worried about every decision that you make. For God is working in you, giving you the desire. I told you desire was important. And the power to do what pleases Him. Do everything without complaining and arguing so that no one can criticize you. He's talking about integrity through and through. Show the change that God has made in you. Stand in it. Don't complain about it. Don't argue about it. No one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God. Shine like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people, but hold firmly to the word of life. Stand in integrity. It'll change the world around you. They're crooked, perverse. Whether you go to work or you go play or go places, every time you're out there, you're exposed to people who view things differently. But when you show the results of your salvation, they compare. They can't help it. And then a decision has to be made inside of their hearts. Show incorruptibility, as in have your boundaries. Stick by them. Don't let anything get muddled out. Every decision you make matters, and they're watching you. Ooh, Great Wall of China. They created this gigantic, incredibly long wall that was very deep, that was very high, so people could not climb over, they could not tear it down. But after its full construction, within the first 100 years, did you know they invaded 3 times? Would you like to know how they invaded? They paid the guard and they walked in through the front doors. Ouch! Ouch! It's one thing they didn't account for, isn't it? They created the perfect wall, high enough to keep people out, deep enough so they can't tear it down. It's like, that's it, we've got the perfect barrier. But no, integrity is what destroyed it. Integrity is what let people walk right on through. Lack of integrity is what Satan is like, woo, let me in. Thank you very much, through the front gates. Ouch. You need to stand firm. You need to have your boundaries. And as you have your boundaries, your life gets tested. That's how you learn about integrity. People will test you, the world will test you, and then you'll know where you stand. And sometimes you fail, and it's okay. And sometimes things crumble and it breaks, but then you recognize a weak spot in your life. And it's what you do about it afterwards that matters. It's when you can look and say, oh, I was tested. Ooh, reminds me of like when Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, it's like, Satan has asked me to sift you like wheat. He wants to poke throughout your entire life and make you vulnerable and hurt you and destroy you and kill you and steal from you. Sorry, rob, kill, and destroy. That's what he does, right? He wants to sift you, right? You will be tested. And when you fail, okay, we're human. You're going to fail. It's what you do about it. It's when you can look and say, I failed. But now I recognize this and I need to change this, and this. That's part of integrity too. Being integral enough to recognize and make the changes you need to make after you fail. Because we're all going to fail. All right, this is what I wrote down. Do not give an inch. Do not compromise who you are and who God has made you to be. Let integrity be your backbone. Let it define who you are. When you do, you will grow in wisdom. You will grow in strength. And your effectiveness will increase as you reach out into the world around you. I think of opportunities of changing your heart, right? I think of, like I said, no judgment. So with the no judgment thing, I was thinking of the woman caught in the act of adultery because Jesus didn't sit there and he's like, nor do I condemn you. Where are the people that condemn you? Well, neither do I. So go. Sin no more, right? In this case, I think of someone else who wanted to change their life. And Jesus gave that opportunity and everything changed. Zacchaeus. Luke 19, when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, come, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down. He took to Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. The people were angry. He has gone to the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. That grumbling is not just with your voice, it's in their hearts. There's some things like, ugh. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and he said, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord. And if I've cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. You have someone of complete integrity who invited someone of complete non-integrity into their home. And when he compared, was like, I want to be more like you. Jesus responded, salvation has come to this home today. For this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. Oh, that's powerful. It's 12 o'clock. Okay. Christianity is attacked constantly. Our integrity is under fire constantly because if they can discredit, they can make fun of, they don't have to believe in anymore. I subscribe to various things about the Christian world, and I got to disconnect from one of them because every time I get news, there's like 4 articles, and one of them is always pastor disgraced. This church doing this about this pastor, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. You're just going to focus on every failure, on every attack happen, it's good to be aware of so you can protect and do better, but my goodness, it is heartbreaking. And I look at the world around, I'm like, you're just justifying everything. Oh my goodness. It's under attack hard that we sit in judgment and then we fail and we fail and we fail. Stop looking at Christianity as a whole. You, as a Christ follower, how are you living a life of integrity? What impact are you having in the world around you? The world is going to hunt down and look for everything to discredit, to destroy, Satan, thank you very much. But what are you doing? Are you living a life of integrity? Have you created proper boundaries? Are you still like a child being like, I'm just going to go here and see what happens? Or do you place proper boundaries in your life? Protect yourself and then stand firm so the world will know. That's all I got. Here's my integrity speech. I hope I've given you a whole bunch to ponder in there. Every decision that you make. I'm hoping that you reflect upon it, maybe this week, maybe the rest of your life. I don't know, but think about it. Do you want to be a person of integrity? What does that look like? How can you grow in that? How can you be a light into the world around you? In parenting, in marriage, at work, at school, what do you stand for? Or do you just fall for what everyone else does? And if you stand for it, are you going to possibly change it? Or are you standing firm in it? This is the decision I've made and I'm not changing it. How do you interact with other people? Do you judge them? Do you just I got to stay away from that person? Jesus went to the most notorious sinner there was. And he gave him an opportunity to see something different, to encourage life, and sit and say, who do you want to be? Zacchaeus didn't want to be the reputation that he had. He gave half of what he had to the poor. If he cheated anyone, he's like, I'm going to go through all the books. I'm going to give them 4 times as much as I ever took from them. They look at you, and you can encourage them to be who they want to be, not who they are. Are you doing that? Are you living in integrity that makes people compare and change their lives? I'm going to pray. I hope you guys ponder that for the next while. And then we'll do communion, and we'll remember what Christ has done. I think there's something powerful, because that's what he told us to do, is to remember what he has done. And it's not just the cross that we remember. We remember the life that he lived, the love that he exampled. And then we can compare to that and sit and say, you want us to remember your every word spoken. How is my life being changed because of it? And it's important we remember. It focuses us, it grounds us, it gives us the anchor to move forward that we need to. All right, let's pray. Dear God, integrity is hard. Lord, I remember working in a banquet hall where people smoked all the time, and it was hard. And then I remember over time that there was a definitive change between hating the smell and then starting to become so accustomed it kind of smelled good. And I recognize that happens in our lives. We can recognize what's right and wrong, but when we're too focused on certain other things, it begins to muddle things. God, teach us about your dependability, about your integrity. Help us to stand firm, not to be swayed, not to let things go from black and white to gray, but let us be people of integrity that model like you did, God. May we be a light that people can recognize, that they can begin to look at their own lives and sit and say, I want to be more like that. God, give us words of encouragement, not words of tearing down. May we lead people to you and give them a new life, a new chance, a new world, a new promise, a new heaven. Lord, we failed. We all have. We have failed, we will fail, we are failing with each example that we go through, Lord, with each testing that we're sifted in. Help us not to completely crumble. It's important to be reverent and apologetic. That's not the word I'm looking for. Contrite? It's when you ask for forgiveness, when you're in a broken place. There's another word, I can't find it right now, but God, you know. So help us to mourn when we've messed up, but then help us make the changes that we need to make to protect and move forward with integrity. Even as failures come our way, and they will, don't let us dwell too much on it. I mean, dwell enough to change, but forgive us, Lord. Help us to grow and look more like you. And may we grow in integrity. May we grow more and more blameless. May we fall more and more in love with you and model you. I know that Gandhi said, I have never met a people who are so unlike the one that they follow. That cuts. That hurts. I don't want to be that. I want to look like you. So Lord, help us to grow in integrity. May our yes be yes. May our no be no. Help us be in integrity as we parent, as we go to work, in our work ethic, in our marriages, in everything that we do. May we stand for integrity. And then may your will be done. Because as that happens, I know the world changes around us. So at that point, Lord, may your will be done. And I pray that. I pray may your will be done in our lives, in our hearts, and then through us and into the world around us. I want your kingdom to come here where I live, here in Kirkland Lake. I want your presence to be felt throughout. May this be a place that you reside constantly, Lord. May people begin to recognize and fear you, be in awe of you, and chase after what is good. Yay, we're back on. So, like I said, God told us to remember. And it's so absolutely important that we do. Remember his life.